Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good wherever you are. I'm your host, That Lit Astro Chick, the channel where we discuss the natal charts of authors, writers, and anybody else that I find interesting. In honor of Black History Month, to continue with the theme, today's natal chart is going to be on the author Bell Hooks, and that is spelled with all lowercase letters. This is going to be a very interesting chart because I've had a couple of discussions with friends of mine in the past about her. Just about everybody that I know really loves her work. We all love the way that she writes and how she's able to deconstruct theories that would be rather difficult for your average person, a lay person such as me, in order to understand those. And I remember talking with a friend of mine a few years ago about why is it that she never had a romantic love. And that friend in particular seemed to think that it was because she wasn't tapped into her shadow side. And astrologically speaking, I am now able to see where the reason as to why, even though she writes a lot about love and a lot of her prose is about race and class and the way that we access our emotions, specifically about love. The most popular book that I remember that she wrote was All About Love. And I really did love that book, and I've loved all of the works of hers that I've read. So let's go ahead and let's discuss the natal chart of Bell Hooks. Gloria Jean Watkins, originally known as her pen name Bell Hooks, was born on September 25th, 1952 at 8:57 p.m. in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. This would make Bell Hooks a life path 33, so that is a master number. And the master numbers, they are known for having many lifetimes, but then they have to come back for one more lifetime in order to learn another additional lesson. With Bell Hooks being the master number of 33, this means that she was meant to come back as being a healer in this particular lifetime. And one of the things that she would have had to have faced within her life was going to be a lot of heartbreak. And I think that that is also magnified by the fact that she is a Leo South Node. And her South Node is conjunct to her Pluto, which is also in Leo. So people that have Leo on the South Node and Aquarius on the North, this is going to be a nodal axis that relates a lot to men and to sexuality. So in her previous lifetimes, Bell Hooks was most likely somebody who was known for a lot of heartbreak that would have taken place within her life. And this would have especially been within her family because her North Node is in the 10th house of Aquarius. So her North Node is conjunct to her midheaven. However, that means that her South Node then would be conjunct to her Pluto, which is in her 4th house. So she may have come from many lifetimes where maybe she came from a big family, maybe she was a matriarch, maybe she was somebody that had a lot of children. And in this particular lifetime, she was supposed to come back as being someone who would blend in well with the masses. So in this particular lifetime, she was supposed to learn how to use her head and less of her heart. And she was also somebody who was supposed to learn how to really connect with people, especially in terms of networking, and especially when it comes to her house matters, which covers your public image, your reputation, as well as what you do for a living. So I would say that for that reason, because she does have that nodal axis, this is one of the reasons as to why she was able to write a lot when it came to her heart space. And she may have experienced a lot of tragedy, specifically in this lifetime. One of them most likely having to start off first with her family. And I say that because people who tend to have their South Node conjunct to their 4th house, one of the lessons that they unfortunately have to learn is the fact that their family may not be the ones in this particular lifetime who are going to care a lot about them and what they think, and then they will go on to their 10th house matters. And in this particular moment, this deals with fame. So that's one reason as to why I think she did probably feel a lot of heartbreak, and there is a lot of there is a lot of concern about thought processes from the heart space because she does have that Leo South node, which is also then conjunct to her Pluto in Leo. And as I had discussed in the Haruki Murakami natal chart, Pluto is exalted when it's in Leo. This is the generation that represents the boomers. These are the people where they basically got the best of what the world had to get. And unfortunately, in our Pluto and Aquarius season, we are all now kind of scrounging around for that. But with Pluto in Leo, this would represent a more of a focus on entertainment, especially when it comes to film and music and TV. This would also be the rise of the celebrity because Leo does represent the celebrity. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Bell Hooks was a celebrity in a previous lifetime. However, in this particular lifetime, she was supposed to focus more, as I said before, on her networks. And in addition to that, because this Leo Aquarius axis does deal with sexuality, Bell Hooks also did describe herself as being queer, and she was also somebody who had been celibate for a very long time. She wanted a partner, but she just didn't really have one, and she has been quoted to saying that, "I would love to have a partner, but I don't think that my life is less meaningful." That I find is very much on the high octave of Aquarius, because Aquarius in its higher octaves, it tends to deal a lot with knowledge, with thought processes, as well as being fixated on a thought, because Aquarius is fixed air. Another reason as to why I think she could have experienced some sort of heartbreak in her lifetime, in this particular lifetime, is because her Pluto squares the ascendant. The ascendant refers to the physical body, and her ascendant is in Taurus. So one interpretation of that could have possibly been that Bell Hooks could have been sexually assaulted during her lifetime, unfortunately, or she would have been the target or the victim of a lot of violence, and that is also very unfortunate that has occurred to her. Another reason as to why I think that she would have had a more difficult lifetime to match with this master number and dealing with healing is because her Chiron, which is at the 6th degree of Capricorn, it squares her Sun, which is at the 2nd degree of Libra. And I've seen this in a couple of other people's charts. I believe I also saw this in the actress Monique's chart, that typically speaking, when you have Chiron in negative aspects to a personal planet, this is going to represent somebody who most likely will not be able to into the rest of society very well, because the Sun deals with how we see our fathers. It also deals with how we see men and the way that we will see children and our ego. Chiron is the who hurt you asteroid, and it refers to parts of us that will feel like they are missing. So with her Chiron in Capricorn, this might mean that her reputation as well as her work ethic, it's not going to be seen as highly as other people who might have a different Chiron. So I would say that these aspects combined would mean that perhaps it would be more difficult for her to have found a lover or a partner in this lifetime. And in fact, I don't think that she was supposed to find one at all. I think that the way that she went about her life and her quest and her acquisition for knowledge and the many books that she wrote and the films that she was a part of really does demonstrate that she was able to really achieve that North Node status in Aquarius. Now, I'll just talk a little bit more about some of the personal planets. Didn't want this one to be too long, but she does have her Sun at the 2nd degree of Libra. In fact, Bell Hooks is a hardcore Libra. She's got a Libra stellium because she has her Mercury, which are conjunct, her Venus and her Saturn, and those are running parallel. And in addition to that, she does have her Neptune, which is running conjunct to her Saturn as well, and those are all in Libra. Libra is the 7th sign in the zodiac, and it's a sign that is when it's in the sun sign. However, it does deal with those 7th house matters, particularly when it comes to strategy, when it comes to marriage, as well as when it comes to ambush. Libra is one of the signs of military. It's one of those signs that has a reputation of seeming to be like so nice because they are charming, and they have very much a for the arts, because Libra is one of the signs that represents the arts. However, it's also a sign to where they never stop thinking, and I'm certain that because she does have her moon conjunct Mercury in Libra, this does have something to do with why she was able to write so many books, as well as being very successful, because Libra is one of the signs of publishing. So I thought that was really exciting when I got to take a look at this. Her moon is conjunct to her Mars in Sagittarius. So she could have also come from a family to where there was a major move at some point in their life, because Sagittarius is one of those signs that deals with voyages as well as with foreign entities. And because she does have her moon and it looks like it's trining with her Pluto, she did receive a lot of support from her family in this lifetime that was very helpful for her in terms of garnering success. And because she does have her moon conjunct to her Mars in Sag, this also means that her mother was most likely very important to her in terms of the way that she saw her identity as well as her conflict style. And it also could have had something to do with her name, because Mars does deal with names. In addition to that, when it comes to squaring her node, she does have her Jupiter, which is at the 20th degree of Taurus, and that squares both of her nodes as well. So if you drop the 0, you then have the number 2, and that deals with the moon. And in addition to that, you also have the number 2 for her sun sign in the 2nd degree. So she is somebody who really did think a lot in terms of how she accessed her emotions and how she used her emotions. But this would be specifically for a thought process, because only one of her signs, it looks like, has to do with her water sign, and that's her Uranus in Cancer. So sun, the signs are squaring, but they're not quite squaring. So she could have been somebody who maybe had a lot of thoughts about running away from home or possibly a different home. And marriage was definitely something that was on her mind, because she does have her Neptune once again at that 20th degree of Libra. And this is also squaring her Uranus in Cancer as well. So she could have been somebody who maybe could have been unkempt at some times. Maybe there could have been some struggles, especially when it comes to her thought processes around marriage. And I say that because she also has her Saturn conjunct her Neptune, and that's also in Libra. And Saturn is exalted when it's in Libra. As I said before, we tend to think of Libras as being like so nice. However, Libra is one of those signs that I tend to find can be kind of homeless, because they function really well in other homes. Their home is in Venus, but they are exalted when they are in Saturn as well as when they are in Uranus. So she most likely did have a lot of fantasies and a lot of desires in order to be married, but unfortunately it was not to be in this lifetime. I don't think she was lonely though, and I say that because she has her Saturn, and that is trining with her North Node. So it could have been something that she could have mastered over time in order to think more about the importance of marriage as well as the function that it had within her life. She also could have had a lot of friends and possibly had a crafty streak. And I say that because her Jupiter does square her Pluto, and that Pluto is once again in Libra. And she may have had some obstacles in terms of the way that she thought about herself as well as her public image, because her Venus does square her midheaven, even though they are in different degrees. And she could have been somebody who would have maybe had a very strong soft spot for people that she loves, because she does have her Venus at that 27th degree of Libra. And Venus is in its home when it's in Libra. So this was most likely something that she did think about. I imagine that she could have been somebody who had a lot of different lovers going on, and possibly somebody who would have really tried to have made that work and then unfortunately found that it didn't quite always work. In addition to that, I did want to discuss her some of her asteroids. So her Lilith is, and that would be like your Mon Math, that is conjunct to her Pluto, and that's at the 20th degree of Leo. So she could have been somebody in this lifetime who really would have struggled with wanting to stand out, and then possibly finding that who she was supposed to be in this lifetime as somebody who was going to really focus more on being part of the background. In fact, she also has her Juno, and the Juno is the asteroid that refers to our relationships. That is at the 9th degree of Aquarius. So this was also conjunct to her, that's in her 9th house. So this deals with her friends. So her friends were people who really did mean a lot to her. This was probably where she expressed most of the love that she probably had for herself as well as for other people. Her vertex, the asteroid which refers to expectations that we have to take on in this particular lifetime, that is in Scorpio, and it looks like that is in her 6th house. So when it comes to her daily living, she was invited more to dive deep into her emotions. And the 6th house is actually a very busy house for her because it contains her Venus, her Saturn, and her Neptune. I wonder if perhaps she knew somebody who could have been in jail, because Saturn conjunct Neptune is kind of a jailbird aspect, or if maybe she could have loved somebody who was imprisoned, or perhaps she could have felt imprisoned by her habits. Those are just all some interpretations that I have. And in addition to that, I'm just going to look up one more asteroid, possibly for good luck. So it looks like her, I'm going to look up her Eros, only because I'm mildly curious as to what her sex life was like, even though they said that she didn't really have one. But as I am looking on for this, let me actually just pause it. Okay, so her Eros. Took me a while to find that. That is conjunct to her 6th house in Scorpio. So I really do feel as though she most likely did feel like she had a love that she wanted for other people, and unfortunately she didn't really get to experience it, but that's because she most likely experienced it within a different lifetime. And this could have been something that she could have felt very strongly, especially in terms of her identity, because she does have her Psyche, and that's an asteroid that is like Chiron, but on crack. I would refer to this as being the who hurt you asteroid. That's also conjunct to her sun sign in her 5th house. So she could have felt like maybe there is something missing about her identity because she didn't have the love that she most likely felt very strongly from her previous lifetime into this particular lifetime. And finally, I'll just discuss her 12th house. Her 12th house contains her Jupiter, which is in Taurus. So this would be one of those aspects in astrology that would most likely point to some type of activism work that she would do, because the 12th house, it deals with things that could possibly set us free, the truth that will set us free, things like that. Overall, I just really do get the impression that she did really fulfill that North Node promise. And I do think that it could have been very difficult for her because that her Pluto being in the 4th house, which means that there was a lot of transformation that went on in terms of her family. So this was something that was very important to her, and she could have also possibly suffered from some type of depression because she does have her moon and her Chiron in the 8th house. So she could have been somebody who could have been very visionary and possibly could have focused a lot of her emotions towards accessing other people. But that's what I have for today's reading. I didn't want this one to be too long. This now concludes my natal chart reading of the author Bell Hooks. Please subscribe and tune in for the next video.